Hey, what's up, everybody? It's batjac JW. It's the late night. Yeah. So I figured I'd do a little bit of chatting with you. Late night with batjac JW. So, those of you that are truly tuning in, I know a lot of you that listen to these bits like radio shows and whatnot. I know that those of you are the true rugged fans of the channel and whatnot because you're constantly listening and whatnot. So here, I also would like to say it's pretty amazing to see the radio show channel right here. We gained a kind of somewhat of a small following, which is pretty cool. I think it's pretty awesome. And really, I do this channel for, I feel like there's a good handful of you that really kind of like to follow a lot of the stuff involved with the channel, and it's different. This is an area where I can do other videos, post different types of videos here on the radio show. Plus, it gives me that opportunity that to still be in touch with you folks in case certain things might happen to the main channel or anything like that. And of course, it's also fun to also, you can find me on that Patreon. Yes, I post some videos there that are different. Though the Patreon bit is reserved for those that I like, again, that really are interested in things that I do and post and come up with. So there, and of course, recently the one that I did was about grips and making those grips and everything like that. So I remember somebody had asked me, a friend of mine back in Hawaii had asked me, he said, hey, I wanted to kind of try to make some grips, and what's some tips you can give me? And I said, I'll be honest with you, I mean, I'm not just trying to snob somebody away from doing it. Money, a lot of money. If I can't even count, which I don't really want to know, how many hundreds and hundreds of dollars I poured out the drain in trying to design those grips and get to the point where they're at. Absolutely crazy to imagine that. But yeah, so because we're at late night, we don't have coffee, we have iced tea. Yeah. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed the recent uploads that we did, which is the Ghost Riders, the Arizona Ghost Riders, and the Scots behind the scenes. Old Santee called me up and he said, hey JW, do you want to be involved in the hosting? We're going to be hosting an event, and with the Ghost Riders, do you want to be a part of it? Because we're going to be doing that out here at the Trail Dust Town. I said, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I would get involved in that, sure. So that's how that came about. Santee dragged me into that. That was good fun. Interesting to see some other people from, all the way out from Scotland that have actually been watching some of the content that Santee's been doing. And of course, I'm really just amazed that I could get involved in all that. It's really fun, to get involved with Santee and the Ghost Riders and go and film stuff with them, because that's really a lot of fun. I really have a lot of fun doing that because it's a big passion of mine, getting involved and just, trying to ham things up, and acting, somewhat semi-acting, per se, and do that kind of stuff. I've always just been fascinated with the movies and everything, so that was a lot of fun, for sure. I actually did order the World War One trench knife, the reproduction trench knife. I did order it. We went ahead and got it. A friend of mine wanted one too, so I actually ordered two of them. One for him and one for me. He gave me some money towards his. He gave me the money for his. And interesting thing was, I was real hesitant on ordering it because my experience, I wanted to talk about this a little bit. And of course, I'll probably do this on a radio show that when I get it, and we'll do some stuff with it there. But a while back, this was, this was over 10 years ago, I would assume. I can't remember. It's been a while. I had ordered one with my father. My dad was ordering a lot of stuff from Bud K or one of those type of cheapo magazines. I mean, I shouldn't say that. They do carry some high quality stuff, but one of those magazines he was ordering a bunch of stuff through. He was ordering a lot of Cold Steel stuff. And then I saw this trench knife in there, and it was like $14, you know, mind you, like some time ago. And I said, yeah, I'll take that trench knife. And he says, oh, okay. Yeah, so I gave him the money. And he put in his big order, and that was his thing. You know, we just would order these big packages of all these, like, inexpensive knives and just kind of play around with them. Because at the time, we had, he was living and caretaking on this coffee land. It was another coffee land. I don't think, this was well before YouTube. So you guys never got to actually see this property. I do have some videos that I shot that were on this property, some really goofy stuff that my father and I were doing, and we have it, and I may post this on Patreon if I can ever find it. I'll have to look at the content, but I must say the content is so out of control in a sense. Definitely just goofing around with my dad. Definitely not the safest methods of practice with shooting rubber bullets and and chopping things up with knives and things and hatchets and whatever we had. This was quite a definite, just not not safe, not family friendly. That's for sure. But if I can ever find it, what I'll do is I'll post it on Patreon, and maybe I'll have to just so that it's not accessible to just everybody. I may have to put a something on it, maybe just pay $1 or something to see it or something like that. Just because I don't want it really just kind of just out there, because it is kind of wild, I must say. If I remember right, I don't remember. I haven't seen the footage for a long time, and I think it's floating around on an SD card somewhere. But I remember we were. I think what happened. So here's the one of the incidents. I was on MidwayUSA.com, and I was searching around, and I came across these things called. This is before I knew anything about wax bullets and all that kind of stuff. So I found this stuff called X-ring bullets, and I thought, wow, what are these? And I looked at it, and they're like these little rubber plugs, really. And I was looking at it, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. So you just you drill the back of the primer. If you decap the primer, now this is kind of reloading. If you're not a reloader, this is kind of almost foreign to you. But you decap that spent primer. You drill out the little hole in the back, a little bit larger, so that the primer doesn't back out. Now this is if you're using it in a revolver, which I did. I bought these in 38 9mm caliber, and then of course later on 44 and 45. But they're these little rubber plugs. And you stick them in the end of the casing, no powder, and you just put a little primer charge on it, and you blast it away. Now, I had zero knowledge on how it works or nothing like that. Now, my dad and I, back when I was just a young squirt, he had bought online a Mattel shoot and shell snubby 38 Dick Tracy gun that he would have had back in the 60s. And we bought all the stuff, and the shoot and shell bullets and the little shells and all that, and the grainy stickum caps, and we were running around and playing with these antiques. But we were playing with them like he would have played with them back in the day, and we were having fun. I mean, we were shooting each other and all kinds of stuff. I mean, stupid things. But you know what? I am so glad that I grew up that way, because I think kids now, they live such a sheltered life that they don't even know what going out and playing in the mud and throwing sticks and stones at each other are. No, they're looking at what the next new app is to download on their phone. I mean, no offense, but I'm just glad I didn't grow up with that. So anyway, that's the kind of stuff we did, loading up these little old toy guns like that and shooting at each other and shooting plastic bullets at each other. I mean, I remember back at, this is when we were living in Colorado, we went across to Wyoming and bought a bunch of Roman candles, and literally was like, we just put jackets on and facial protection, ran out in the field and shot each other with Roman candles. I mean, this is the childhood I had. So anyway, Now, I got this, rubber plug loaded up in this 38 shell with the primer on the back. We loaded it up in a little revolver, and I'm sitting there, and I mean, now there's the background of my father and me doing really dumb things. And I said, let me shoot you in the foot. And he says, no. He goes, no way. I'm not. He just didn't like, I mean, this looked way too serious. Because, I mean, when you saw all this coming together, and you're talking a shell and primer and a rubber pellet, loading it up in a snub-nosed Colt 38 or something. Yeah. And he's like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. I'm like, come on, let me shoot your foot. And he goes, hi. He goes, I got a can of beer in the fridge. Let's shoot that first and see what it does. So, well, okay, all right. And this is I had this recorded. I don't know if I still have it. And we set this beer can or something like that up on a trash can, and I said, all right, go ahead. And he took the thing and he shot this can of beer, and we had no idea what was going to happen. Made that little pop, launched this little rubber plug in the can. It blew the can to pieces, like, because it's a full can of beer or pop or something, and it just exploded. And I remember he just, in the video, it's hilarious because he's like, I don't want to get shot with that. He's like, a 22 would do the same thing. And it was like, so yeah, that basically, he went, yeah, let's, that looks like it would hurt. And it probably would have. And we started to think of all the stuff that we could shoot with these things. Now, mind you, we're on a private, a couple of acres of coffee land, all encased, no neighbors around. We were smart enough to do that, so nobody would like look across the road and go like, "Hey, look, what the heck are these guys doing with a firearm out there?" But no, it's a private, very private, nice, beautiful house located on a coffee land. So we start going through this stuff and like, okay, let's see what we can do. So let's grab a beer bottle, like a whole loaded beer bottle, like unopened. Let's see if it'll do something to that. Shot it, didn't do anything. It just bounced off a little, rubber little pellet. So we were running around trying to find a bunch of stuff, and we found like a rotten watermelon in the fridge. We shot that, blew it apart. It reeked really bad. It stunk up the whole garage. We shot like a cucumber, and then we shot like hornets' nests and stuff like that. I mean, we were just kind of going around and shooting some of this stuff, and then it was really fun. A lot of it was pretty fun. Making some. I remember we were making fun of the Hickok 45, and we were, I was like, yeah, let me take a shot at 80 yards, and we had like this paper target set up about like 2 feet away. So, but it was a good time. But so we were ordering a bunch of these knives and stuff in this big old box. The big old boxes show up to the coffee land, and he'd call me up and go, hey, it's here, and I'd rush on over, and this was what we would do every week. Hang out for like 4 days straight. At the time, I wasn't working very much because I was pretty much limited to very, very part-time work. So, instead of doing what I should have been doing, which was looking for more work and all that, no, I decided to go goof off with my father and do dumb things like that on a coffee land. But so this big box would show up. Hey, it's in. I come rushing over to the coffee land because it was only about a 5-minute drive from where I lived at the time. So show up, and I bought one of these trench knives. It was like a cheapo one, $14. And I got it, and literally, it for looks, yeah, but you can tell it's a cheapo one. Pretty much, when you buy one of those cheapy $20 knockoff kind of knives, you're getting basically pot metal that's been painted gold to look kind of like brass. That's also got some black paint on it to kind of, I guess, make it look a little aged, and somewhat of a stainless steel blade. And it really is not connected very well, because on the bottom where the little spike type screw-on cap on the bottom, it's basically like a skull crusher, if you would. That's basically just screwed onto a haggard threaded rod that's going from the blade all the way down through the handle. So it's not any kind of secured in any way other than that way. And the thing would be loose, because the first thing I did was stab like a tree or something or I forget, we stabbed something that had some resistance. Might have even been some cardboard boxes, and it started to loosen up. The blade was getting real loose already, and I mean, there's ways you could probably fix that. Tighten the bolt really down good, and put a bunch of like red Loctite down in there, and you could probably secure it pretty well. Looking back at that, I still have the thing somewhere in storage boxes. I actually do still have it because I always liked it, but I was just always bummed out that it actually wasn't brass. So I remember searching around online for a real one, thinking, oh, I'll just buy a real one. And when you see the price tags on those, you're like, whoa, okay, maybe not. Because it costs more than I actually imagine. It's well over $1,000 for the real thing. Yeah, would I ever, I mean, if there was ever an opportunity to buy a real one and it was somewhat of a decent, halfway decent price with that in mind, that they cost that much and they're kind of collectible, I might buy it. But anyway, that's pretty much been the closed door on that. So throughout all that duration, my impression of these trench knives that are out there were these cheap pot metal handles that are painted gold to look kind of like a brass knuckled, dagger handle. So that was my impression of them. And it wasn't until I found these ones online. A couple of companies have them. Atlanta Cutlery has them, but International Military Antiques has them. That's where I bought it from. So they got it, and they're not cheap now. They're $150 a pop, and they're real bronze or real brass, whatever. And all the reviews on it, there is like, I scrolled through a ton of reviews, and not one said it was a bad made knife or anything like that. And it was like, it just kept, everything I kept reading was like, it's a good knife, it's worth it, and this and that, and blah blah blah. So I was like, oh, maybe it is worth it. But the thing was, in the long run, was like, yeah, $150. That's what was stopping me. I'm like, I don't know if I can. I don't know. That's just really difficult. So I was basically kicking tires for a while there because with that thought. Well, lucky me, I was at work and I was helping out a customer, and after it was said and done, the customer was really happy at work with, I was just trying to make people, just help out people when I can. If I can do it safely and somewhat organized, I'll do it. I'll help them out if it's possible. So this time around, it was possible, so I made it happen for them. Well, anyway, they tipped me $100, and I tried to refuse it because it's a lot of money. I don't want to take $100 from somebody, but these people were visiting from not from America. Let's just put it that way. They weren't from America, so to get to shoot a gun was pretty amazing to them, and they tipped me $100. So anyway, I said to myself afterwards, I said, well, there's my knife. There it is. I'm going to use that and put it towards this knife and buy it. So that's basically ultimately what made me pull the trigger, pun intended, on the blade and get it. So, yeah. So I ordered it. It's on its way. It actually is shipping out of New Jersey. So I got that. I've been tracking it. I'm kind of curious when it arrives. And when it arrives, I'll, like I said, I'll do a video for sure. First of all, on Patreon. I may do an unboxing video, and then maybe I'll post some small stuff on it, of course, and all the preparation stuff I'd like to film and get it on camera before it's posted. The main video will be posted on the main channel. So that's the intention. So we'll see how it goes. They said it the way it arrives is it's all blackened the way it should be, I guess, according to what they read when they were issued out to the soldiers in World War I for the trenches, that they were all blackened. And the reason why you see them with that kind of cool, rustic, definitely, tarnished bronze, kind of battle, is because they were using them. And the thing is that the knife is a really frightening looking thing. Because if you look at it, you're just like, man, that really just shows you how primitive that war was, and how primitive that that whole bit is. It's like, man, look at this thing. I mean, this is not made to like chop firewood, man. This was made for stabbing, bludgeoning, and crushing the enemy. I mean, there was just no ways about it. So it's a pretty brutal looking thing. So I'm kind of curious. I mean, and of course, I mean, obviously, I mean, I don't support or endorse the violence part of it. I think it's just the historical part and the what it kind of looks, what it kind of stood for at the time. It kind of just shows you that time frame of like, it's really cool. Americana, World War I, World War II kind of stuff really interests me. It really does. I just love our weapons that we had during the two world wars. Really interesting stuff. So, as you guys know, because I'm not really into anything modern. So speaking of which, I recently it's just been kind of almost in a sense going back to my days of being a teenager, which are, man, sadly to say, are much too long gone. But with the music and everything, the resurgence with the music for me was a big one. Buying a drum set, electric drum set, I got one of those back, and because when I left the island, that was one thing I really missed. I missed my drum set, my electric Roland drum set, which got sold before, and I was just always crushed by it, and I didn't get to play, for a while, and it was just it felt like a missing part of my life, because the whole music and all that was my first love, always will be. It's my zen, I just love to just plug in the headphones and just take off on the drums and just be in my own world. Nobody else can hear me. I'm just me and the music and just flowing. And so with that, and then of course purchasing vinyl records has been a lot of fun. Now that the vinyl records thing kind of happened on accident. I bought a record that was only available on the vinyl. They didn't release it on CD or not. And for me, I come from the cassette tape days. My dad had 8-track in his truck, and my grandparents had records. So that's so I never really dabbled with vinyl at all. And it's kind of interesting because as I got into it now recently, I mean, I pretty much just dropped right into the growing frenzy and love for vinyl, because a lot of people love it, and and I can't believe how it is such a thing. Like, I actually thought I was going to have a hard time finding anything involved with it. I didn't realize that it was actually kind of made a resurgence the way it did, and people are really into it. Young people like me, for instance, this is long before my time. Even my father had 8-track and stuff, and it was my grandparents are the ones that had records. So it's kind of interesting. So I with that, and then now I'm hooked on it. I'm just totally into it. And it was said that I was watching this interview, and they were talking about records, and they were once you dip your pinky into that pond, you're just fully immersed. I mean, you just, all of a sudden it's you just gravitate towards it, and you just keep going and going and going. And that's just how I am. Here I am. I started with one just for fun, and I wound up with almost 10 different albums. Almost, not quite there yet, but I got quite a few of them, and I keep buying them. And I mean, to me, it's it's a lot more fun to listen to them that way than a CD. And of course now everybody's into downloading a file or something like that into their iPad pod thing, and then listening to it that way. Well, which is cool, I guess. I mean, I'm not knocking them. That's a pretty cool portable way to take the music around. But there is something special about the records and watching that needle hit and just go around and round. I mean, that's something really cool about it to me. So I've really been liking that a lot. So between that, the music, and then getting a drum set, the drum set surprised me because I was expecting that to be quite an expensive adventure. because when I originally did it, bought my set, my electric set, that is, it's a Roland. It was a roll. That's what I had. I spent about, I remember it was not cheap. It was a couple thousand or more dollars for it. So it definitely was not cheap. So that was kind of where I was under the impression of. So when I got it, when I started looking at them, I mean, obviously Roland is one of the best. But I started looking at other brands and, shopping on Amazon, and I noticed there's this brand called Alesis. Alesis, they said, for the money, the quality's not bad, and it does work, and it's pretty good. And so I was looking at it, I was like, wow, yeah. When I came across a set, I mean, we're talking as low as $350 on Amazon, free shipping. And then, of course, a little step above that, if you wanted to go, you could go to $500. So I was actually going to do that. I was going to say, yeah, what the heck, I mean, that was shocking to me. I couldn't believe that it was that cheap. I didn't want to get too carried away. I actually did go down to like Guitar Center right down the road here, and I actually went there and checked out their sets, and they had a pretty nice set used, $900, and believe me, the itch was getting pretty itchy, and I really wanted to get the set, but that's a lot of money, and I didn't really want to go forward with that kind of cash. So I held out. It was hard, but I had to walk away from it and just say, stick with what I got coming on Amazon, and I'll just do it that way. Well, I wound up, for fun, like I was just kind of shopping around, I went to a Chicago music store out here, which is native to this town, and they've been around for a long, long time. And I was talking to them, and they said they could order it for me, and they could honor that $500 price. And they said, yeah, and it'll be free shipping, and you just have to pay tax on it. That's it. And I said, you know what the heck? Because Amazon was going to charge me tax anyway, but this way I'm supporting local, and if something kind of goes haywire, I can go back to them and say, hey, help me out, and they will help me out. So it was kind of a cool thing. So I went ahead and, like I said, definitely went ahead with that, got it. So all this stuff has kind of been making a nice little comeback in my life, which is cool because I'm getting back into that music groove. And so along with all that, I started to say, I kind of want to do the hairdo again and have that slick back look that I used to do in high school, and always still kind of kept it here and there, but never like how I was doing it in school, where when I was in school, my teen years and in my early 20s, it was like, it was like that, that pomade slick back look. So I started getting back into that too. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. My mom says midlife crisis, and I said, no, it's not, because I'm not there yet. Well, at least I'd like to believe I'm not there yet. But anyway, but I remember my experience back then with pomade was Murray's pomade, and that's what I used as when I was in my younger years, teenager. And I remember putting that stuff in my hair and slicking my hair back, and then literally you can't wash that stuff out of your hair. Those of you that have used that old school pomade like Murray's and stuff, you know what I'm talking about. You can't get that stuff out of your hair. I don't know how people did it, but you can't get it out of your hair. So that was, and I remember I battled with that all the time. It was just like, and I remember my mom would be like, why do you put it in your hair if you can't get it out? I'm like, because it's cool. It's old school. It's that Johnny Cash kind of days, the 1930s, the 40s, the 50s. It's just that's where, I swear, if I had a time machine, I would go right back to 1930, exactly to my age that I am now, right then, so I can pretty much grow old in a right time and pretty much fade off before a lot of this other stuff just taking place. But anyway, Yeah, so I started getting back into pomade, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna, check it out. Of course, the first thing I did was hit the local drugstore and see what they got and bought some cheapy stuff. And then, of course, now I got into it and a little bit more, and I started learning. I mean, because I don't really know much about it, and I still don't know anything about it. But I just know that there's a difference between some of this stuff now. And what I learned is, yeah, everybody that was like me that has tried some of the old school stuff. Well, Murray's is the real, the one that you would get from Walmart for $3. I mean, that's pretty much what I remember. The orange can with that vintage, look to it. But now they sell stuff that is, it does the same thing, but it washes right out with your shampoo and everything. So that's kind of cool. So I started getting into that, and I actually went to the best stuff off the shelf that I actually found is Walmart's Equate stuff. I mean, plain and simple, $7. It pretty much will do the trick. But I started looking online and getting further into it because it's kind of interesting to me. It's just got some of the nostalgia, old school kind of thing. So I started looking online and ordering some different stuff. And so I just actually recently got this one right here. I know you can't see it, but it's called Uppercut. And this stuff, now I'm not gonna lie, I got it. I thought it was I bought it because it was really cool. Because the can is red and black, and it's got this picture on the lid of these two boxers going at it. It's really cool, and it has a coconut smell, like a coconut vanilla smell. It's the color of Coca-Cola. Now, really cool stuff. It comes in a metal can. Really cool. It washes out, water soluble. And but the thing I didn't like about it was it goes on like awesome, like your pomade, the usual stuff and everything, but it hardens up like gel. And I don't. That defeats the point to me for pomade. I don't want it to harden up like gel or something or dry out like that. So that I was disappointed with. So I tried. I just got another one called Johnny's Chop Shop. Haven't tried this yet. This is a Walmart special. Not much in there. It's kind of a But then of course I ordered some other ones I'm gonna try out and see how that goes. I ordered I ordered one with a pig on the front. I just thought that was kind of cool, and plus it had really good reviews. But anyway, I have noticed that a lot of this new stuff that you can get, which does the same thing, it's really cool, but it washes out with water. Boy, thank God, because I didn't really want to. If I would have had to go back to using Murray's, I don't think I would have continued, because I just remember, like, you can't get it out of your hair. Your hair is still greasy, and then, like, you go and lay down in your bed and stuff, and then, like, your pillow's, like, greasy, and it's just kind of, but, hey, that's what people dealt with, back in the day. I mean, that's just what it was, and it's cool. There's just that nostalgic feel to it, that just back in the day, just that time period, man, that's just amazing. I just love it. I tell you, there was just something so cool about that. The days of, like, just Elvis at his prime and all that. It's just the coolness. I mean, the 1950s and stuff. It's just, I don't know, really neat stuff. So yeah, that's just kind of been my thing lately. It's just been kind of cool, and just kind of getting back to a lot of the old school stuff that I used to do. That just kind of reminiscing and just getting back to it. And it's really fun. It really is. For me, it is. So that's what I've been doing. So I can't, like I said, I can't wait till this trench knife shows up, because that's going to be interesting. Gonna check out what that's going to be like. So thanks, guys, for joining me for this late night chat, late night show with batjac JW. So I do appreciate it. And, you'll have to forgive me if the uploads on the main channel cease a little bit, because it's just time and, just not having the time to do it. But I enjoy doing stuff on the main show. For me, it's like, trying to come up with quality to still produce out decent videos. where versus doing stuff like this, it's just kind of off the cuff, relaxing, just kind of going with the flow and doing that. It's just a lot easier to do. So I will definitely be try to keep this channel, you know, right here uploading with random things. It's easier to do those than it is the main channel videos. But keep checking here and keep checking my Patreon. And I appreciate all the tips I've been getting on Patreon. I really do appreciate that. And I thank you for all of you sticking with me.